Hey everyone, nice to see you all over here at Skysil. Sri Lakshmi, we'll just wait a bit for the students from your college to join in and then we can get started. All right, so I guess we can get started with the introduction of Skysil. So, some of you might already know us, but the fun fact is that the college we are actually hosting Skysil for, CEC, is kind of one of the initial motivating factors for starting Skysil, at least in my mind. So, I gave a talk at CEC. I think a year back, and the interaction with the students at CEC actually motivated me to think about how we can bring opportunities and bring conversations which can help students to regional colleges and several other institutes like CEC, where you might not have a really awesome alumni network or the connections to actually find speakers, which we have also faced in our college days, to actually reach out and bring in people into your foray and conduct sessions. So that's kind of where Skysil formed. So today, Skysil is a forum where student representatives can come and request for speakers. And we use our network to connect students with speakers in the industry. Who deal with multiple types of topics like tech management or placements or software engineering, all of those things, building your personal brand and all kind of technologies and topics that students might be interested in. And today we are marking the first event of Skysil. We are having a launch week, and the last Monday, me and my co-founders Sashika and Akshita, we went live to explain to people what Skysil is. And today we are starting with our launch week, where we do a virtual tour across the country in 5 different colleges with 10 speakers who are really amazing experts in their own domain. And today, for the first session, we have Gaurav Sen. But before we go to Gaurav, I would like to bring on stage Sri Lakshmi, who made this session possible. She's the student representative, of course, from CEC. So I'd love to have her on stage first to give a quick introduction and be the familiar face for the students.
Hi, I'm Sri Lakshmi. I'm a final year electronics engineering student at College of Engineering, Changanur. So, as Harita said, she took a session for us a year back, and everyone literally loved the session. And out of most of the sessions, this is one of the sessions students still, kind of recollect what she told. So yeah, and Skysil is a really good initiative because I, as a volunteer, have it's been really difficult to connect with people through LinkedIn, people from the industry. So this is a really great platform which makes connecting people in the industry with the students much easier. So yeah. And Harita, thank you so much for choosing our college, and really excited to be a part of this. And also, one thing, we do have a lot of hostlers, so they might be watching it together, so that you don't have to be worried about the count. Like, they might be watching it together. So
Yeah.
yeah.
We just want to be sure. I know that CEC had a class going on till like half an hour back. So I just wanted to be sure that we are being inclusive and waiting for everyone and, not just getting started. But yeah, glad to hear that.
Yeah, it's okay. Like, I asked them, like, is there any problem? So it's mostly because they are hostler, most of them are hostlers, so they'll be watching it together.
No
I mean,
problem.
it's not a problem, I guess.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great to know. And I think we are good. Thank you so much, Srilakshmi, for introducing your college. It's really near my home. So hi to everyone. I'm joining in from Alapi itself actually, and I will move it back to. I think we have Gaurav here to talk about campus placements, online placements, offline placements, and what happens in that black box, which I think so many of the students over here would be really curious about. I remember even from my session, that was like one of the hot topics. Gaurav himself is a startup founder and he has
Yeah, I
immense
tend to do that.
experience. I would attribute my placement even to him. So I learned a lot of system design from him. So super happy to have Gaurav over here as our first speaker. So yeah, moving it to Gaurav.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, thanks Harita. Thanks Sri Lakshmi for making this possible. I'm so glad that you actually invited me, because it was a couple of weeks back, I think, uh, when we connected, and it's so great to actually see that because of the internet mainly, we are actually able to connect to tier whatever colleges. That's the important thing. When I was graduating, I didn't have a lot of the maybe resources or advice that I would like to have had, and this is a way in which we can actually change things. So thank you so much for making this possible. Amazing.
Thank you for joining us. Stage is
Now,
yours.
thank you. uh, before we start, guys, I'd like to first share the agenda of today's talk. Like, what do we want to do at the end of these roughly 60 minutes? What will you take away? Okay, so the agenda is to clear as many doubts that you possibly have about placements, also to give you a rough idea of what placements are. Okay, if you're not understanding what placements, it's basically companies which come to campus who are looking to hire um, graduates, college graduates, not necessarily computer science, anybody. So that is placements. How do you prepare for them? What actually happens in them? And what are the common, like, myths or doubts or things to keep in mind when it comes to placements? So this talk is all about placements and everything around it. Okay. Uh, Before we start, does anyone have any doubt which they want to put forward immediately? Anything which is not, let's say, anything that they want to put forward to start the discussion? Like, do you, or even an even better question, how many of you are from first year? Just put it in the comments. First year of engineering, or first year of your college. Okay, it's on the comments section, which is on your right hand side. But okay, how many of you are from second year engineering? Okay, Ronnie Phillips is from second year of engineering. Um, Anyone from third year? Third year engineering, going to have placement soon. Okay, and anyone from final year engineering? Fourth year. Okay, okay. Most of you are from first and second year. I think maybe I'll speak to you so that the problem. Okay, I'm actually from first year. Okay, that's pretty good. Um, okay, if you're in first year engineering, uh, I would advise you more, if this is where the majority of the audience is first and second year. I would advise you more on what do you do in college, how do you study, what are the things that you should keep in mind, so that when you have graduated 4 years of engineering, if you want to do your masters, if you want to do an MBA, if you want to have your own startup, you want to get into research, whatever it is, you will have the maximum flexibility. That's what I'll be talking about to a large extent. This flexibility includes your chances of getting placed. Okay, so it's not like if you I need to do a specific set of things, there's a perfect roadmap. If I don't follow it, then gone. If I follow it correctly, then and only then will I get in. There is no formula right now, because, like, nobody cares about formula right now, because you're in engineering colleges. We are expecting you to have sense, and we are expecting you to do things which are sensible and generic enough that you can be hired for later, or can get a master's or everything. So whatever I'm giving you is generic advice. You can follow it without having fear of, hey, I'm not going to develop into this if I do it this way. Okay, so the first thing is, uh, let me try to share a presentation with you. Okay, first let me be a little partial. Let me actually go for entrepreneurs. Any one of you who's thinking of starting a company. I don't know how many of you have seen Shark Tank, but quite a few people just fresh out of college, they have a nice idea, they want to do something related to that idea, so they feel like starting a company of their own. Okay, I think this will need to be shared uh, from backstage. Okay, so because you're from first and second year, this is something 3 or 4 years away. So take it like that only. You don't need to do everything on day one. You need to build habits, build processes such that you end up in this place. Okay, working every day for 1 hour is much better than working 4 hours every day for 3 months. It's much better to build a habit than to build a sprint or build a race. Okay, so okay, let's go here. First thing, in most colleges, especially colleges which are into hackathons or technical colleges, I have noticed that people have business ideas, but what validates a business idea? Can someone post it on the comments? Second. Okay, give me 1 second. The answer was there on the next slide, so that'll make the whole thing redundant. Share the screen, Chrome tab. Yes. Okay, this is perfect. Okay, is my screen visible now? Yeah, it is. Okay. So what validates a business idea? Let's say you have an idea, or let's say you have a hackathon contest and you say, let's do this. How can you impress the judges, or how can you convince them that, hey, this is something which is actually making sense? This will go out in the real world and it will change lives. I'll give you an example. I'll give you 2 examples. Okay. One example is, there is a drone which flies in the air, goes and detects garbage, goes to the garbage, picks it up and brings it back to a trash can. It dumps it in the trash can. Okay, this is one example. What's the benefit? Well, there will be less garbage in the world. A number of accidents might reduce. You might use that garbage for scrap. This is one idea. Who is going to fund it? The municipal corporation is going to fund it. That's the idea. Okay, or donations. Second idea. Farmers are not very sure about the pH level of their soil. So you devise an instrument which tells them the pH level of their soil. Okay. Which one do you think is a more sensible idea, or which one do you think will be easier to make a business out of? Anyone with any idea? There are no wrong answers in this, especially in college. Definitely no. Okay. Neither of those ideas make sense till you actually have tried to make some sales. Okay. Till you have actually tried to go to the government and try to get money from them, saying that I have this idea, I have this project, here's my prototype, what do you think about it? Or this is the research I've done. I'm from a mechanical background. I have built drones earlier, and this is what I can do for you if you give me a grant. That will be a validation of the idea. On the other hand, a soil pH measurement device. How do you validate that idea? Go to farmers, actually ask them if they need it. Right? You might think this is important, but it may not be. So you go to the customers and you ask them, do you really need it? First one is the customer is government. Second one, the customer is maybe a farmer, maybe a large farmer, small farmer, doesn't matter, but your actual customers are farmers. So what validates your idea is actually sales or orders or business, or at least a promise of an order. So 99% of hackathons are all about, I want to build this, but very few people think about, is it actually going to work? Is it actually going to make a sale? And why is money so important? Because money is what makes your business sustainable. Okay, if you want to help the world, you want to help people, the first thing you have to do is make sure that you stay alive. Right? The longer you stay alive, the more you can help people. And to some extent, if people are ready to pay you money for a particular thing, they are. Let me put it simply: you see bananas in the market, and let's say you like bananas, okay, and you have money. So the person who's selling bananas likes money more than the fruit. You like the fruit more than the money. You have an exchange of goods, which is your priorities are different. So you have exchange of goods. Both of you are happy. It's like magic. Okay, nobody lost anything, people gained something. So just like that, when you put out a product there in the real world, which people care about, which people like, and which people are ready to pay for, you are happy, they are happy, the overall sum of happiness in the world has increased. So it's good. The second thing is this is like there's a few things that you want to take care of in a business. You want paid customers, demand is stable, personal risk is low. All of this comes in when you have a sustainable business, when you actually have money. Okay. I think I'll skip this a little. These are a little more advanced. So do you have any questions on this, guys? Wait, I'll just stop sharing. Any questions on the first part?
I had a question, Gaurav. I just added myself and jumped in over here.
Yes.
But I'm just being the student's representative. So there are a lot of government initiatives around promoting startups, right? Like Startup India Mission, or I know even the government of Kerala has one because the college is situated there. What is your take on, taking such government support in building your startup? Like you said, that might not be extremely customer driven. It might be more towards for good causes. Do you think, as a student, even that's a great opportunity to start out, or do you think more research should be done in that area?
So one of the things about government is that um, they are actually really good for branding, for really vetting your idea. Unlike what most people think, government doesn't just go and give money. Uh, it's how do I put it? I don't want to put it the wrong way. Let's say you go to the government of Kerala and you say that you have an idea of garbage collection. The government of Kerala will have really smart officers who will evaluate your plan, who will look at your profits, who will ask you what do you intend to do with this, how long do you intend to keep this business alive, and all of those technical and business questions, and then will offer you a particular amount. Um, so if you are going through college, or if you're going through a government grant, or a college grant also is similar to a government grant in that sense, it's a good idea. I would suggest going through them is the best way uh, for college graduates, because they are a little more um, caring, should I put it that way, or they are ready to take more risk than a private investor. Contrary to what people think, government is actually ready to take a little more risk when it comes to building interesting projects which have long term impact. While private investors are like, I gave you money, give me money back. I gave you money, give me 12% back now. Okay, next year I give me 12 more percent, right? Because if you as a small investor are going to invest in somebody, you can't just say, okay beta, you do well in life, we'll see later about the money. While the government is a little more in that sense lenient. They can give you grants, and they can to some extent they can help you network, and all of the other things also that happens in any very large organization. So I would suggest, yeah, go ahead with that. A lot of the people in Father Agnel, my college, also have done the same thing, and they are doing well. They got job offers also because of that being added in their resume.
Great
Any
point,
other questions,
Gaurav.
guys?
Thanks. Students, feel free to put in anything you want to ask in the chat. Don't be constrained or feel shy or anything like that. We are definitely open to question, and it's a safe place. It's specifically for your college, so feel free to do that.
Okay, awesome. Let's go to the next topic, which is the most favorite of most people. I don't know. I think then you guys will start speaking up. How many of you know about computer programming? Computer programming. Anybody done computer programming? Heard of it? Heard of the job offers that come through it? Okay, Sri Lakshmi has heard of it. Shashrika has heard of it. Okay. Um, Let me put it even more clearly. How many of you want jobs at the end of 4 years? Newell has heard of it. How many of you are looking to get placed? If you're looking to do an MBA, you're in the wrong talk. I'm actually going to save a lot of your time today. If you're looking for an MBA, it's not going to make sense. But if you're looking for a job, or you're looking to, let's say, higher studies, it makes sense. Govind has heard of it. Okay, quite a few people have heard of it. Um, Okay, then let's see whether we can get to it. Just a second. I'll just share my screen. Yeah. Okay. Let's start with the simple thing. First and second year is a little early, but I think maybe some of you have seen the kind of job openings which are put out there, which is this is what the industry expects. We want highly skilled engineers who are passionate about technology and strive to improve their skill set on a continuous basis. Our employees work across domains and design. Actually, this is actual job posting, okay, and design procedures to. My God, I can't even speak this much. Basically, what they want is that we want smart people who get work done. So the good things to know about is you should know about one programming language, whether it's Java, C++, Python, Golang, doesn't matter. Okay, if you think Python is a problem, don't think that. Nobody cares what programming language you use. We actually don't care at all about what programming language you use. You can use JavaScript, you can use any programming language as long as you have strong grasp in it, which means that if I ask you that what does this keyword mean and you can't answer it, that's a problem. Okay, doesn't mean that I'll purposely find a different keyword or a difficult keyword and then ask you that question. But in general, if it's a programming language and you're going to use it day in and day out, you need to know how to express yourself to a computer so that it does the jobs that you are asking it to do. Okay, as an engineer, that is the basic requirement, that you can speak to a computer without thinking too much. Clarification, this does not mean that Stack Overflow and Google will go away. Of course, use Stack Overflow and Google a lot of things, but it's not like you're just going to go to the engineering office and everything will be Stack Overflow and Google. So if you know about a programming language, it helps a lot. You cut down on the time to debug, you cut down on the time to develop, you are more likely to finish projects easier, more difficult projects quicker. So this is something we look into, one good programming language. Okay, the second thing is, have you worked on projects under the guidance of a professor or in a contest? We just had a discussion on this with Harita, just picked this up. If you pick up a project in college, multiple projects is better. That is really useful because when you're under the guidance of a professor, you actually make a sensible project quite often compared to doing it yourself where you don't know what the requirements are. If you have done an internship, that's amazing. Okay, do put that in your resume. Do let the other person know when they ask you that, hey, have you worked on something interesting in the past 12 months? Third thing, which is where computer programming is very useful, have you participated in contests? And if you have done well, do mention it. So good ranks, good ratings, these are helpful. Hackathons and computer programming is helpful. Problem solving skills. How do you evaluate this? Mainly algorithms, mainly data structures and coding are used to evaluate your problem solving skills. So you're given a coding problem, and if you can solve it within 45 minutes, you're considered pretty smart. Okay, it's more like an aptitude test. Finally, good communication skills. This does not have anything to do with how well you can speak a language. Good communication skills can be in Hindi, can be in any language. The only problem is if you do not have good communication skills in English, then international companies might have an issue with that because some of their employees are speaking English, some of their employees speak French, some speak Hindi or Telugu. Like I was in Hyderabad, so people were more comfortable with Telugu. So what happens is, what is one language that everyone speaks? And you need to be a little comfortable with that. English is what all three countries are speaking. So in that sense, are you able to speak clearly? Not that you need to be good or you need to orate or anything like that. You need to be able to express what you're doing to the computer and to the human beings around you. Okay, take it that way. Any doubts on this, guys? These 5 points? Yes. So Shashrika is saying, when I saw that job description first, it felt so overwhelming, but the breakdown makes it achievable. Understanding behind the lines what the industry expects is so important. That's absolutely true. If you think of it, a lot of people treat HR rounds like some place where you have to pretend to be somebody you're not. You know, that you have to say, I'm awesome, I'm thinking about this. You have to speak accented English. That's actually not at all true. You just have to be honest, and you have to put forward what you believe. You don't need to be. If they ask you, like, for example, where do you see yourself in 5 years, that's a dumb question, honestly. If they ask you, if you have a fight with your manager, what are you going to do, that's a dumb question. The HR himself can't answer, or herself can't answer that. So, but on the other hand, normally, like, the smart HR folks, what they do is they ask you questions like, in the past 12 months, is there any project that you want to talk about? Okay. In the past 18 months, is there something where was there any team challenge that you faced? These are things that you need to be able to talk about. And when I say talk about, means describe what happened. This was the requirement. This is how we went about doing it. These were the challenges. This is how we overcame them. Another important thing is you don't say we. Like, we did it. Yeah, you think people are thinking you're a team member. In reality, you need to say I, because they're hiring you, not that team, right? So it's pretty interesting. Recently, my father's actually an expert at behavioral interviews, and I got to know from him that a lot of the things that engineers usually do in behavioral interviews is totally wrong, and so it's going to end up failing you. For example, I used to say we did this. What the hell does we mean in an interview of you? So you have to say I. Anyway, so no doubts here. That's great. Govind says, what about hobby projects? You can put them up. If they are relevant, you should. Like, for example, if your hobby project is Sudoku solver, yeah, put it up, sure. If your hobby project is Twitter, I don't know, Twitter scraper, okay, and you scrape and you find a particular topic that you like, so you can search on Twitter anything that you want. Okay. If it's not related, if it's like totally different, what would be an example of a totally different project? If you can give me an example of what hobby project you're talking about, I can tell you whether you should mention it or not on the resume. That might help. Okay. Now we know what we need to do, or what they are looking for, what's going on in the process behind. They are looking for these 5 skills: strong programming language, project experience, contest participation, or basically, rewards or accolades, problem solving skills that they'll test you in the interview itself, good communication skills. These 2 are tested in the interview itself, 4 and 5. 1, 2, and 3. Actually, 2 and 3 are visible in the resume. 1 is visible in the online assessment, or it's visible in 4 and 5 also, like in the interview. So 1, 4, 5 are actually the interview things. Okay. How to prepare for the interview? First, practice problem solving. How do you do this? Competent programming is a good idea. You could also use Leet Code to do problem solving, and there are other websites where you can just go and learn about algorithms and data structures. That could help. The second one is algorithmic skills. This is, again, I'll tell you where you can get all these 3. Use interview preparation sites. For the love of God, don't memorize questions. Yeah, don't memorize questions, because these are math problems, right? They can easily change, and there's so many questions, so you can't. All 3 of these, can be taken care of through interview preparation websites and competent programming. So Codeforces is a website. CodeChef is a website. How to perform during the interview? Okay, so now we know what is needed. We know how to prepare for it. Okay, now comes the real thing. You're actually in the interview room, let's say. So first thing is, take a problem and approach it from different angles. If I ask you that there is an array, and the array is sorted, and I need to search for an element uh, which is positive, let's say. So there's multiple things. You can do linear search, you can do binary search. This is of course a very obvious question, but in general, when you get a question like there's an array, and you need to do XYZ operations on it, you start thinking, hey, is it a problem which can be solved through math, like simple math, ad hoc, or do I need a certain technique? Should I convert this array into a tree? What about converting this array into a 2D array? Would that help me find the pattern easier? Is there any kind of result that I can store already? Dynamic programming. Can I convert this to a graph? Is there some combination? Is there some particular pattern of combinations that's coming forward? That's the basic idea. So try it from different angles. And the way you will get these special tools or these secret weapons is by more and more practice. Best way to practice, like we said, is preparation websites or complex programming. Okay. Second thing is listen to the interviewer if they're offering hints. I can't explain this enough. There are times when the interviewer is actually trying to give a hint and the other person is like, wait. Let me try the question. So if the interviewer is actually giving you a hint, listen, talk to them. And when you're speaking to them, they are more interested in actually expanding on the hint. Like if they are saying that, what do you think about the right-hand side of the array? Is it different from the left-hand side of the array? Then actually listen to them and expand on it. Like, okay, right-hand side, can I see when I go on the right, it breaks into a sub-array. Can I go into the right-hand side of that also and breaks into a smaller sub-array? So when you discuss with them this way, they realize that you are listening to them, they care more about you, and they give you a more explained hint. So listen to the interviewer. Stay in the moment. This is very difficult. You need to avoid thinking about the result. It happens in any sports contest or in anything which has high stakes. You feel like you're winning or losing or failing or succeeding. So try to keep that away. Just stay in the moment. That's how you would perform in an interview. So going back, you prepare this way through websites, and during the interview, just try to apply the knowledge that you have. Right. This is useful. Skysil is actually putting a lot of effort in the comments. If you want to have a look at those comments, that will help. Okay. Common misconceptions. One is only CS graduates are hired by IT companies. Does anyone else have this misconception? Only CS graduates are hired by IT companies. Some people believe that, I am in pharmacy, or I am in metallurgy, or I am in naval technology. So there's no way that a company will hire me. If they hire me, they'll give me a much poorer role. They'll give me a lesser salary. They'll probably give me a not so cool role. That's not true. Simply put. Okay. I must know a specific language to apply. No. Like I said, any language is okay. Python, Java, C++, Golang, anything. Don't come with your own language. Okay, don't come with a language that the interviewer doesn't know only of. But majority, like famous languages, is totally fine. They are more interested whether the test cases are running. Actually, they don't care so much about your language, and they care about your code structure. They don't care about the language. Okay, so is the code nicely modularized? Are there functions? Have you written AA, BB, or are you actually writing the names of the variables in a sensible way? Students, comma, employees. A, comma, B, fail the interview. Okay, so and then finally, my GPA matters during an interview. That's also not true. If you have been selected for an interview, all the objective metrics have already been taken care of. There's a cutoff sometimes that colleges have or companies have, that you need to get 60% or you need to get a particular GPA to even apply for the company. But in an interview, it doesn't matter. Right? A person can have much higher GPA than you and will still not get selected because the interviewer doesn't even know, sometimes has not even seen your resume. They're just evaluating there. We must know a lot about the company beforehand. It doesn't matter in large companies at all. In small companies, it might be a bonus, but it's not like people care a lot, honestly. Okay. We mustn't eat an egg before an interview because otherwise you get a 0. Okay. Focus areas. Any doubts till now, guys? Does my college matter when applying for a company? Yes. In an interview, it doesn't matter. But when applying for a company, it does matter. If you are from an IIT or if you're from an NIT, usually it's easier to get shortlisted in companies. So in that sense, when you're applying for a company, you made the question very specific. You're absolutely right. Yes, it does matter. Yeah. I'll tell you what matters more. I will tell you, maybe colleges matter around 5 to 10%. What matters much more is not your grades. Your grades probably matter 0%, 0 or 2%. I don't think anyone cares about grades when doing resume shortlisting. I'm not sure about it, but I don't. What really matters is your open source projects or your hobby projects or your mini projects or projects in college or internships. Internships are awesome. So that is what matters. Your internships matter like 80%. Okay, probably even 80% probably. Then comes your resume, like have you put sensible things in it? That might be like 10%. And the rest is all miscellaneous, like okay, fine. College, nice, okay, cool. Something like that. How can I increase my chances on getting an interview call in this case? Yeah, like I said, 80% is, I'll just type that out. No, can't type here. Okay, so the most important thing is working on projects. If you're working on college projects, that's awesome. If you're working on internships, that's the best. Okay, internships are the best. Projects in college, multiple projects is useful. Anything less than that is not good. If you have not done any projects, it's really bad. And if you have done some projects but they're useless, that's also pretty bad. Like for example, Twitter sentiment analysis. What do you do in it? If you can't answer those projects, or if you have been part of the project but everyone else was doing it, you'll be questioned on the project. You'll be asked questions. So it's a good idea to actually work on things by yourself. It'll really help you. Okay, some good questions by Shashrika. That's okay. So let's move ahead if you don't have any doubts for now. Focus areas, algorithms and data structures. I would suggest you to spend your first 1 or 2 years, not entirely maybe, but to some extent, learning about algorithms, data structures, operating systems, networks. That's coming up next. CS fundamentals. CS fundamentals is basically operating systems, networks, database is like super critical, but there's something I'm missing here. Networks, operating systems, databases. Is it distributed systems? No. Missing something. I'll get back to that. Okay, I'm not even put it as databases, networks. Ah, yes, one programming language. Yeah. So I guess CS fundamentals, these are the things that I include in that. Yeah. If you just scratch out 2 also, it's okay. And you know the first, the rest of the 5 things. One programming language through which you can code algorithms and data structures. If you know how databases work, like just understand what an index is, how does a stored procedure, what is a stored procedure, how do you store data, like in columnar format or uh, in in SQL, right? You don't need to know about NoSQL also that much. Uh, Operating systems, what are threads? Okay, that will help you. What are containers? That's really nice to know. It's a bit advanced, but knowing about it is really helpful. Then you get really good packages, right? If you're talking about companies like DirectEye, I from campus I went to Morgan Stanley, then I went to DirectEye very quickly. And I think one of the things which helped me was actually algorithms and data structures. I was not good at operating systems or networks at all, but I was good at one programming language, databases, and algorithms. So that helped. Okay. So this is the major thing. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me on my YouTube channel. It is Gaurav Sen. On Quora, I'm not there anymore, or I'm there, but yeah, like you can't message directly. And on Facebook, so this is a little lol. But yeah, the YouTube channel is the best way. You can also contact me on LinkedIn, which is a place where I'm usually quite active. Okay, guys, any questions on this? This is the focus area.
Thanks a lot, Gaurav. I think that was really, really insightful. So, one thing I wanted to check was, let's say I'm a second year student and I have started nothing regards to my placement preparation. I've been following my academics. From that stage, I know this could be really overwhelming for a lot of people that, I have to do CPA, I have to do prepare my projects, I have to do X, Y, Z. So many things are there, right? So, what could be like a roadmap that they can take so that it's not really overwhelming, it's not really scary, but they can touch most of these really critical points?
That's a really good question, Harita. So the first thing would be, in my personal opinion, I'll just focus areas, right? Yeah. Okay. So firstly, I would suggest you in first year to focus on the programming language. Do anything you like, but in the practicals, make sure that you do the practicals yourself. Never, ever, ever, in an important practical, take somebody else's printout. That's that's like taking a photo of somebody else in a gym and putting your face on it. It's literally that. And it's going to make you suffer so much, yaar. For such a small thing, you think it's nothing, but it matters so much. So if you know programming well, right, you don't know any algorithms, it's okay. You don't know data structures, at least programming you should know. So that is the first thing. Start with first year, first sem, just focus on your programming language, or second sem, focus on your programming language, fix that when you're pretty good. Then start thinking about, okay, I know how to code, which means if a person comes and asks me a question, I can code it. But sometimes I don't know what to do. What should I code? If a person comes and asks me a question, I don't know how do I solve this. So what I need to improve on? My mathematics. That is where algorithms and data structures come. A lot of senior engineers are really good at coding, but they can't think in terms of algorithms, which ends up hurting their career in the long run, because they're not able to think as to why is this better or why is that better. Mathematically, they're not able to think. And as an engineer, it's like you are, let's say, 20 or 10% researcher and 90% mechanic. Without the 10%, you cannot get promotions as quickly. So in life, it matters a lot. Algorithms and data structures. So second year, focus on algorithms and data structures. First year, you got really good at programming. You're not worried. Any algorithm you can code, but you don't know what the algorithm is. So you put another layer on top of that. Now comes the big guys. You are not the first person to think of an algorithm. Thousands of people have done it. So what you do is you learn from their practices. You learn from their awesome skills. Somebody actually made a database. Database is filled with algorithms and like all these optimizations. So when you read about databases, you go like, oh my God, this is so smart. And by reading it, you kind of become smart. By reading smart people's books, you kind of become smart. It's true with engineering also. So looking at common patterns of how is a database created, how does this operating system process things, if you need to send information from one computer to another, it's a really difficult problem. Both are basically dead bodies, which are sending electronic signals. So you need to set up a protocol by yourself. So you create a language, which is the networks as a subject. It's actually you're creating a language there. So it's quite exciting actually to pick these subjects. First year, focus on programming language. Second year, focus on algorithms. Third year, focus on your core computer science subjects, and if you can, in third year itself, get an internship. Okay, get an internship in third year, and in fourth year mainly focus on projects, focus on internships, projects, get good at it. You will start earning money already. You will be confident, your parents will be confident. When you go to an interview, you'll be like, dude, I've done this 10 times earlier. What's so special about a placement? Right, it matters a lot. It becomes a very smooth process. Otherwise it becomes really difficult. Till fourth year, when you haven't got an internship, right, it's slightly harder to get a job. Not very hard, but slightly harder. And if in fourth year in campus you don't get a job, it's not like you're not going to get a job, but it becomes again slightly harder to get an off-campus job. So why make it a problem? India is exploding in terms of job opportunities. This is a really good time to just go out there and say, hey, I want some money. How about I do some job for you?
That's so true. I mean, the amount of opportunities which are currently available, there is no limit to that. That's really true.
Yeah.
And thanks for giving that, a step by step of what people can actually do. I see some questions. So I think Sri Lakshmi even floated like an anonymous form to get more questions from students. So does someone from a non-CS background need to be proficient in all these CS core subjects like operating systems for placements?
Yeah, not really, but a little bit. Let me put it this way. The first round is on coding. Usually it's an online assessment where you don't need to know even about coding. You can, even if you write bad code, but code which works, then you pass. The second round is where you're talking to a person. It's a difficult algorithmic round. And if you're able to pass that, that's good. But it's also a mathematical round. So, okay, I'm slowly getting to your question. The third round is also normally algorithmic. The final round in many companies, like it can happen anytime, but the final round is with the hiring manager, senior engineer. So the senior engineer is somebody who cares about core CS subjects, because that predicts how far you'll go in the company, or how many difficult problems can you solve. See, because when you join the company and he's talking to you or she's talking to you, she doesn't want to think about, I need to teach this person networks. Like we had a senior engineer at Uber. If she was telling us what to do, right? She can't tell us, go and hold our hands and say, this is how we are going to do it today. This is how we are going to write code. It's going to waste her time too much. So as a senior engineer, she wants to see you knowing these subjects. Having said that, if you're from an electronics background or from a mechanical background, you can mention that and say that I'm not very, proficient with networks or operating systems, but I'm good at databases. At least one subject needs to be very clear. I'll tell you one thing. Algorithms, compulsory. Programming language, compulsory. And one good grasp of one CS subject. Either it's databases or networks or operating systems. Then they'll ask you questions on that. But if you don't know of any of them, then there's a problem.
Sure, Gaurav. I hope that answered Sri Lakshmi's question. If you have any follow-up, feel free to put it in the chat. I think Govind also had a question about a bit of a different topic. Do implementing a new personalized idea as a project really matter when starting out? I'm guessing this is more relevant to the startup discussion we had initially, or the project discussion. I'm not really sure about that, but yeah.
Does a new personalized idea as a project really matter when starting out? I'm not very sure how to interpret this.
Oh, I'm thinking it might be related to, you mentioned, for example, Twitter sentiment or something that someone has already done. If you're doing it, might not be worth as much. So probably this is around, is it necessary to come up with something novel to put in your resume? That's what I'm understanding.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a good question. No, not necessarily. Look, even if you're if you have done Twitter sentiment analysis, genuinely you might be doing Twitter sentiment analysis. You might have done some really good stuff in it. So I'm going to ask you a question on that, and then we are going to deep dive into it, and then we'll start seeing that, okay, this Govind has worked on Twitter sentiment analysis and he's done something which is pretty amazing. It doesn't need to be novel. You don't need to be Einstein. You don't need to come up with new things. But as long as you have worked on it and learned from it, and you have measurable, if not measurable, at least some tangible skills, like, okay, this person learned this from this project. These are the things that they did in the project. Otherwise, what happens is why I took Twitter sentiment analysis is because it's a very common project that people just put on their resume, and then they say that I've used this library to actually do it. Like, what is the purpose? Why do you do the project? That's where the breakdown. If you have a purpose, if you know why you're doing it, and if you did something tangible, matlab, that's perfect. The project topic doesn't matter much.
I think that's a great angle. Like, I know that there have been some problem statements around using Twitter sentiment analysis for, let's say, preventing hate crime. Or if you have a motive behind that project, that might give more validation for why you picked it up, probably.
Absolutely. In fact, like you said, to prevent hate crime is one thing. It could be to see that in COVID, have people actually started posting more messages around being lonely, let's say. Okay, so these are things which are really important, but you need to have a purpose before you start the project, right? If that's the thing. In fact, if you really have that purpose, then you're going to mention it in the description of the project. It's not going to be Twitter sentiment analysis. It's going to be something like sentiment analysis of social media, brackets, during COVID times. Twitter was the example that we picked up. Oh, okay. I understand what you're saying now. Okay.
That's a great take on it. I see another question from Anurag. What should one focus on last 3 months before placement season starts? That's a really critical time if he or she has decent knowledge about data structures and algorithms.
Okay, last 3 months before placement season starts. I would say mostly practice. It's difficult to write a program in 45 minutes and also write test cases for it. So you write down a program first, then you make sure that it's correct. And then also, so coding speed matters quite a bit, honestly speaking. So practice in the last 3 months will be good. Practice in the last month also is enough, I think. Maybe you want to break it down. The first 1 month or 1.5 months, you want to brush up on your knowledge of CS fundamentals on certain subjects. You want to think about the projects that you've worked on. You want to touch them, play around with them, figure out, this is something good. This is something I would have done differently. And then move on to the last 1.5 months, those 40 days, just focus on practicing programming. That would help.
Thanks, Gaurav. I think, I don't know if this is something you recommend, but I saw a flowchart in cracking the coding interview, which sort of leads up to your day of interview, like 2 weeks before, 3 weeks before. Might be really interesting for the person who asked this question. Just putting in a suggestion from me.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, maybe. One thing that I'm a little worried about, although I'm doing the same thing here, is that roadmaps of anything less than a year, right? They become a little too specific for me. I start getting a little worried. That's the reason why I said first year do this, second year do that, third year.
Right.
Because when you're because interviews and job placements are so customized and there are different companies for different kinds of roles. Maybe something will work more for you than others. But having said that, Harita, I think the book will have generalized a lot of those principles and put them up. Reading it is a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it leads up to from like a year on, preparing projects and so on and so forth. It's a really big book. So if anyone is interested in reading for coding rounds, then feel free to check it out. Sashrika has one question. In behavioral rounds, what are some tips that we can follow and keep in mind during the interviews?
Okay. In behavioral rounds, what are the things to keep in mind? Okay. First thing and the most important thing is don't fake. If you fake, you'll get caught, and your chance of getting placed is zero. Now, how do I put it this way? Like, the interviewer could be an idiot also, in which case faking is not a very bad idea. Yeah, like I don't want to name the companies, but I have mainly lied through a lot of my behavioral interviews, and I used to think that they are so unnecessary, useless, gimmicky. Like, what behavior did you actually evaluate? I had a question from one of the companies which was like, Gaurav, if you have a bucket of water and you have to deliver it to another place in 1 hour, what are you going to do? Are you going to run or are you going to walk? And I immediately understood what this guy means. He means that, are you going to do the task nicely and slowly and possibly delay, or are you going to finish the task on time and possibly lose some water? So I said, I'll do both. how can you ask such a directed leading question? They don't allow this in quotes. You can't just give a leading question like that. So a lot of the interviewers are not capable of actually taking a good behavioral interview. Having said that, coming back to the main point, I'm sorry. Tips. First tip: don't use the term "we" a lot. Uh, Skysil did this. We were really good. We then realized. You realized. What did you do? If you didn't realize it, don't say it in the interview. Otherwise, take her name, who has actually done it, so that they're clear that okay, this person did it. The storyline is going smoothly. This is not about the country. India did this, then India did that, then Maharashtra did this. Right? Nobody. They're not employing Maharashtra. They're employing you. So use the term I. I did this. I had to think about it. That's a very important tip. The second tip is they want to kind of find your intent. They want to find out why you're doing something more than what you did. So, for example, Shashrika is continuously. She's not. Nobody's sending me direct questions. Shashrika is sending the questions by herself. So, why is this happening? Is it that Shashrika wants to be famous? That could be one point. Is it that Shashrika does not trust them to write the correct English? That could be another point. Is it Shashrika is trying to protect them and trying to take the blame if required? That is the third point. There are so many things that could happen. Right? There are many positive ways I can look at it, many negative ways I can look at it. Like Shashrika is a good person, Shashrika is a bad person, Shashrika is neutral, like that. I want to find out the intent, and there is no such. There are very few bad intents. Okay, if Shashrika wants to be famous, that is a good thing. Some companies need people like that. If I'm hiring a YouTuber and the person doesn't want to be famous, I'll be like, go home. It's okay. If I'm trying to look at content creation and a person is improving other people's grammar and putting it in the right way, and you don't want to do that, that's another problem. So be honest. Give your intent also of I did this, but why did I do it? Also, just mention it with that if possible. Okay, these are two major points I'll give you. You guys are very, very young for behavioral interviews. So just remembering these two will help you a lot. Yeah.
That's great points. Actually, being genuine really helps, and so I think our team has even put. I am again using the term our team, but the folks who are backstage have actually put it in the chat. So I think we're kind of on time, but I'd like to take the last question from Guna. We have two more questions. I don't want to take a lot of Gaurav's time, but Guna had a question. Would you advise learning system design or any other such topics a few months before entering the industry? Oh, so I think Guna kind of means after placement, like preparing for your actual job.
Yes, that's a good idea. If you haven't worked on system design at all before you get placed, a few months after entering the industry is actually the best time. That's when I also learned it. It's a really good time. What will happen very soon is when you join the company, you will be going for team meetings. You will be learning many new things. In that case, knowing about system design helps you join the team smoothly and also like contribute to the team quickly. So it's a good idea.
Great. Gaurav, do you want to take the last question or we can wrap up right now and we can answer it later?
I'll take the last question. Abhijit has been waiting for an hour to just give a question. So
sure.
Which platform should one prefer for last 1 to 2 months preparation? Codeforces is a decent platform. Lead Code is a good platform. Lead Code is, I think, fully built around interviews, so you might want to use that. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, Anurag Oja is supporting Abhijit. Thanks, Guna. Thanks.
Awesome. So I think we had some really great discussions here, and thank you so much, Gaurav, for giving this step-by-step guide on how to prepare for placements. I'm sure several students are motivated, and if you have any questions, like Gaurav said, you can reach out to him over LinkedIn or YouTube, and we are also available. Do feel free to let us know if there are any questions we can help you with, and we'll be meeting in half an hour for Akanksha's session on somewhat related but unrelated topic. So stay tuned for that, and we'll be putting on a screen for half an hour, but we'll be back in half an hour. So please stay here, and thank you so much, Gaurav, for doing this. We really loved having you over here. Yep.
Thank you, Harita. Thank you for making this possible, and thank you everyone for actually coming here on this Thursday evening. You could have done anything, but you chose to come here for this. I'm super grateful. Awesome. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Hey everyone, so welcome back. I think we had a really great session with Gaurav half an hour back, and we learned so much about placements, startups, a lot of questions about how to prepare, how to get a job. There was just tons of information. So, if any of you have any further questions following up to Gaurav's session, feel free to let us know. Let Sri Lakshmi know or any of our team members, and we'll definitely help you out. But more than that, we have our next speaker, Akanksha Bhasin, on the call, and she has a really cool job description. Let me start with that. So, she would introduce herself. So, I'm not going to take a lot of your time. But this session would be kind of different from the last one. We won't be diving deep into placements, is what I understand from Akanksha. But we'll be talking about some other things which can really help your profile and make you a great professional while you are in your campus days itself. So, without much ado, I'll pass it over to Akanksha. Feel free to introduce yourself, and we are talking at CEC Kerala.
Yeah, thank you so much, Harita. Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be at the launch event of Skyskill. And intro about me, I'm a technical community evangelist at Symbol.ai. I work in the DevRel space, evangelizing about the product, testing APIs, building strategies, and nurturing the technical communities. I often look after the developer acquisition space and collaborations, and I'm also the founder of Women in Voice India and a web and voice developer having 4+ years of experience in building communities. I've also been a recipient of Grace Hopper Celebration India Scholarship, and I've helped a lot of students in getting started with voice. Yeah.
Thanks, Akanksha. That's great. So I'll just give a quick icebreaker while people are joining in. Can you tell us, explain like I'm five, what an evangelist is and what an evangelist does?
So the question is to the public or to me?
To you, I mean, you're the best person to answer that. So.
Okay. So I feel evangelist is like, in simple words, it's like a brand ambassador of any company that promotes the product, and it also bridges the gap between the developers. It brings out the feedback from the developers and pass it on to the product team. So it's like evangelist, as an evangelist at Simple.ai, it's like a mixture of both technical and non-technical work where I build, I test those APIs, bring in the developer feedback, as well as also on the sideline build communities.
That's really interesting. That sounds like a cool job. So
Yeah,
I won't take up more of your time. So the stage is yours. Feel free to get started with your content, and I think we have the folks over here on the call as well. So we'll be
sure.
available backstage.
Okay, so let's get started. We will be discussing about demystifying opportunities for engineering students. So my intro is already done, and a bit more about me. I started my journey with leading Google's Developer Student Club by giving actions on Google, GCP, and open source for beginners types of sessions. I've also mentored students in Google Code and hackathons and initiated women only meetups under the Shiro's Campus Lead program. So, and you can also follow me on Twitter or LinkedIn as well. So, you must have heard about this term, noob. We all are noob when starting. So, how did I get started? Now, let me share my journey. I remember during my first year of college, I was completely new to the developer space, didn't had any coding background. Everyone has already studied coding in detail in the school, but that didn't stop me from exploring the tech world out there. At that time, I explored different communities outside my campus like GDG, WTM, Women Who Code, and started attending their meetups. I really felt empowered and started attending hackathons, volunteering at meetups, and the learnings which I got from these communities were completely phenomenal. Through GDG, I got to know about the Google's Developer Student Club program, and that's how my journey progressed from being a regular attendee to organizing meetups and then finally speaking at meetups. I've hosted more than 20 plus sessions across India during my college tenure, and I felt really good And an immense satisfaction came when you see smiles in the faces of the community members and when people ask me doubts post workshops. So, in this whole journey, I emerged as a strong leader. And even our team really worked hard in establishing and growing the developer community at my institute. And I later also established Women in Voice India. And then finally, the placement year started and I cracked two software developer roles and one role in the dev space. I was still in dilemma like what to choose, so I resonated back with my journey, what I liked the most, and connected the dot backwards. I chose the non-conventional path, the devil space, to build my career. So devil space is like a mixture of both technical work where you got an opportunity to build projects using their APIs, testing SDKs, and also the community building aspects come into place of what we call as like the developer acquisition, getting the product feedback from the developers and passing it on to the product team. So yeah, that's all about my journey in short. So here are some glimpses of the sessions that I took at different states of India, some from DevFest India that is hosted by GDG every year, and some of them from Women Tech Makers Meetup and Voice Tech as well. So this is a snapshot of the session I took in the colleges of Mumbai. I've also spoken at some international conferences as well. And this is like our team where we established Women in Voice India to empower more and more developers, work, especially women and allies in the voice tech space. And this is like the snapshot from the Google I/O. I also got nominated at Google I/O last year for all my work in the voice ecosystem. And this is I also got nominated and won the up and coming voice award for my contributions to the voice community. And if you are interested to know more about the voice tech community, feel free to reach out to me and we can help you get started with voice tech as well. So now let's talk about rejections. I have applied a lot of scholarships conferences in my college time. I too face a lot of rejections. Rejections are like a part of life, so take it normally. Don't judge your capabilities. We often judge ourselves, am I good enough? Instead, ask yourself one question daily: what's my aim? Am I doing things correctly? If not, how can I make it better? So, retrospect and make short, achievable goals at the start so that you don't feel overwhelmed at the end. Take small, actionable steps. Next comes the roadmaps. So there are a lot of roadmaps out there. Do this, you will be a pro coder. Do X amount of questions, you will crack any big company. I would say there's no set path of achieving success in your journey. Everyone has different choices, career decisions, and timeline. Whether you want to be an Android engineer or a data scientist, web developer, or a program manager, or even a product analyst, you yourself need to define that path. So listen to everyone, but do what you like the most and what your mind says. And whatever you do, I would recommend always stick to the fundamentals, research the topic in detail, and do hands on stuff. Don't do only just for, okay, you did one tutorial from of web development, one tutorial of Android. I would say if you are picking one technology and you are really interested, do it in depth and you will be irreplaceable. And people can share roadmaps, blockers, challenges, but you have to sit down and experiment what you like the most. So craft your own roadmap, try everything you want, and don't limit yourself. So let's talk about opportunities. So there are a lot of learning resources available. There are some self-paced labs. There are code labs which are also available on developers.google.com. Similarly, Microsoft also offers some learning paths where you have different courses. So I would say do check it out. Rest, you can also refer free courses from Coursera and CS50 is the most recommended one. And for web development, you can try it out, free code camp, or apply to any scholarships and get those grants. And I also wanted to share this opportunity. So do take part in the 2022 Solution Challenge. If you are a part of any Google Developer Student Club, like participants will get like specialized prizes and at different stages. And the best part is that you will also get direct mentorship from Googlers. If you get selected, you can form a pair of teams from your college and do take part. You can also take a snapshot as well. And rest we will be also sharing the links at the end. So now let's talk about scholarships. So there are a lot of scholarships out there. So I applied during my college. I applied in GHC and GHCI. I got selected in the Grace Hopper Celebration India and also applied to others like Nutanix. Uh, there's Adobe's Research Women in Technology, Generation Google Scholarship, and even one of the founding member, Sastrika, is also uh, a scholar of WTM. So do reach out to her. And others are like Western Digital Scholarship. So, talking about scholarships, I would say you must have some steps in mind. You must note down what are the actionable steps, research about the scholarship, and I would highly recommend to find previous scholars and network with them, reach out to them either by LinkedIn, Twitter, or anywhere you can find them. And while applying for scholarships, find your strengths, note down all your projects, and document things. Even if you learn uh, basic technology, document, write it on blog, Medium, dev.to. There are a lot of things. So writing blogs, it's like a proof of work. And do maintain your GitHub as well, because a lot of times while applying for scholarships, they not only see the technical aspect, they also see how active you are in community and whether you have open source contributions or if you are a part of community where you are contributing. And at the last, do review your questions and answers from the past callers if possible. So this will help you in getting a edge. You can take a snapshot of it. So now let's talk about ambassador programs. So let's upskill together. So there are a lot of ambassador programs like Google's Developer Student Club, Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador, GitHub, Auth0, Amazon, AWS, Geeks for Geeks. There are, I think, more than 30, 40 ambassador programs are out there. Do consider applying in one of the best ones, and you will learn a lot of new things. So, what is the importance of applying in ambassador programs? You get a lot of benefits. The first, I would say, you get a good peer group, and like the benefits of joining the community is like you get an opportunity to connect with new folks who are willing to learn and achieve something big. And next comes the teamwork. So, like talent wins games, but teamwork and intelligence wins championships. So, this is like a very famous saying and quite true in everyone's life. If you want to achieve something very significant, a team of like minded people is must. And working on an interesting project and learning new things inculcate a feeling of trust among students, which is very important for a good work environment. Like if you are a part of any ambassador program, it also helps like increasing your soft skills as well. Like you gain some leadership, positive attitude, and good communication skills are often a plus. And along with these, there are some students who perform exceptionally well in these programs and get a direct internship or even job opportunities in some of the ambassador programs. And you also get an opportunity to learn from the industry experts. Like this is the probably the best thing about these student programs. I remember during my DSC tenure, we had a lot of upskill sessions, not only for the lead but also for the core team members as well. So they provide some amazing industry trends, and they have done really well in their field, and now students get an opportunity to connect with them. So do consider taking part in this ambassador programs. So next comes making your first open source contribution. So A lot of folks think like we will do just DSA and we will get into FANG, but there are other options as well. A lot of folks got jobs directly due to their open source contributions, where they didn't did like hard code only like DSA solving 400 500 questions on lead code, but they found another path. They contributed in open source. So open source, there are a lot of open source programs like Outreach, GSOC, MLH, Fellowship, GSOC, GSOD, Learn IT Girl, do check. So you get a lot of learnings from these open source programs. You get an opportunity to improve your coding skills because the things that are taught in the college are very limited. But if you want to work in a good company, you understand how Git works. So you gain an early experience and you also increase your community and peer recognition. And you get a lot of great job prospects because of this open source. And you also get an opportunity to improve software on a user and a business level. And there are a lot of perks, swags, and there are a lot of monetary uh, programs where you also earn money. So do check out these programs. So next comes the tech events and programs. So these are specifically for women like Disha Sen, Tech Women, Attitude, Twitter Developer, LinkedIn Winterthon, Adobe. A lot of companies, big companies, MNCs and startups have started enrolling these women in tech programs. Either these are coding challenges or fellowships, which gives an opportunity to, like, a lot of people say, okay, we are from tier 3 or tier 2, we are not getting opportunities, but these programs give you a chance to really prove your mettle. And apart from that, you can also, like, while applying for jobs, even if you uh, don't get selected in this program, but you can still maybe write a blog and write something about it. Okay, you have got like 50% or 70% score, and maybe you can reach out to some fellows working in these big companies, sharing them their resume. It might increase your chances for getting a referral. And there are some other programs as well, like Google Code Jam IO, Google Step Internship, Girl Script Summer of Code, She Code. So GSOC and Girl Script, it's like mix. Anyone can apply. Rest are like for Flipkart, LinkedIn. This is for specifically for girls. She coded. And a thing about Symbol. So something about the company where I work. So Symbol is basically a conversation intelligence platform for building applications at scale, and it helps you understand natural human conversation. And we make AI understand natural human conversation. We also have our comprehensive suite of products and APIs, and it makes it very easily to build and deploy intelligent speech to text functionality, extract contextual insights, and generate domain specific intelligence and access advanced conversation analytics. So, as you can see, wherever there are natural human conversation, Symbol AI can be a part of it very easily. And there's also a specific link like Symbol Skyskill. So all participants can get 3000 minutes free developer credits worth $150 with this promo code. So do check it out. And we also regularly host some events like virtual happy hours. We also had integrate to disrupt hackathon where almost like 2000 folks participated, and developer month. And we recently also had like Hacktoberfest where we open sourced our repos. So do consider joining our community. We're also available at Slack, Twitter, GitHub, everywhere. So message. So I would say, um, like, most importantly, never fear from applying to new opportunities. Like when I started back, I was not very comfortable giving live sessions in front of hundreds of people on stage. I still fumble sometimes, but so what? Keep on improving, work on yourself, and you will shine one day. And don't think about positions and titles, they are just a mere word. When I started back as a volunteer, I would have never imagined that I would get a chance and get featured at Google I/O. But because of my contributions in voice ecosystem, I got featured last year in a talk led by a Googler. So look out for hackathons, boot camps where you can participate or maybe mentor. Fill CFP for events and conferences and keep building your personal brand. Collaborate with your peers, mentors, reach out to them, or even you can reach out to your college professors and tell them, I want to host a tech talk on a particular technology, or maybe something simple like getting started with open source, where you are telling the students how to use Git. It will basically improve your communication skills as well. And apart from that, like going beyond the classrooms, you can also stay in touch with regional GDGs or any like global organization, or maybe some you can start it out from your college as well. So keep contributing there, keep collaborating, and keep building. I would say network, network, and network. I would highly stress on this and make the best out of the communities. And now I'm opening the stage for questions. Let me know if you have any questions.
Thanks, Akanksha. I do see. Am I audible? I kind of have some internet issues.
Yeah, you are audible.
Right. So we do have some questions, but before that, I just wanted to emphasize how relevant this topic is because in the previous talk itself, Gaurav was talking about placements, and certain students asked, "Is my college, does my college matter when I apply for companies?" And what you just mentioned is such a great way to overcome that hurdle. Like through all of these platforms, you're really reaching out to a wider network of people whom you might not otherwise have in your college. A great, for example, I was also a WTM scholar, so the number of alumni as part of WTM community is amazing, right? So
Right.
all of these opportunities you just mentioned really help bridge that gap. And let's say you're a GDG lead and you're not anymore a random student, right? You are a leader, you're doing something really cool. So thank you so much for sharing all of these amazing opportunities with the students. We can take the questions one by one. I think the first question, so Sri Lakshmi is a student representative from CEC. So she is sort of anonymously posting certain questions on behalf of the students as well. So we can take the first one. For scholarships like GHC, do they look at the level of your technical knowledge?
Yes, I would say they do take a look at the technical knowledge. So for GHC, there's a set of questionnaires like which ask you about your community strengths, your projects, and they also tell us to upload a resume and get a letter of recommendation from maybe a college professor or someone known. So I would highly stress, like if you are um, like a BSc student or you have done BTech, they do stress on the technical knowledge as well. But they it's like they uh, take a like a overall perspective. They also see some contributions in community as well. And uh, they also focus on the impact that you are creating, and on sometimes it happens on the need basis as well. They ask you, why do you need this scholarship, why you are the deserving candidate. So you need to express as much as you can.
Thanks, Akanksha. I think, Sri Lakshmi, if you have any follow-up question from the students, feel free to put it in on that topic. I think Sashrika also had a question which students might be thinking a bit about. How can we develop voice projects and get started if we are new to the space?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for voice projects, as you have seen, you must have heard about actions on Google. Like everyone has Google Assistant on your phone, right? So we have like for Android, we have a whole Play Store. Similarly, for voice apps, there are different actions where people can host their voice skills as well. So you can either, if you want to full-fledged like develop an application, you can check out like actions on Google resources as well as Alexa, Bixby. There are a lot of resources out there, even like IBM Watson as well. And if you want to focus on the conversation design aspect, like the flow, because there's a whole aspect of it, like people have been studying about UX research, but in voice it gets really tricky since everything is in the form of voice, and you don't have much interactions. You want to make the conversation flow as simple as possible so that it doesn't confuse the audience. So there are a lot of conversational design courses which you can check it out.
Thanks, Akanksha. That's really cool. I think even if you have any resources you think are really great,
Mhm.
we can share it with our audience in the comments as well. What do
Right.
you think are the qualities companies look for when it comes to selecting a campus ambassador?
Mhm. Yeah, for campus ambassador, I feel generally for campus ambassador, generally they say create a 2-minute video. So they see the overall aspect, like why is really important. Like every question, it's why you want to become a part of it. They do see if you have built some, like talking about my DSC experience. So they ask me questions regarding my experience in different technologies. That time I was working on Firebase, GCP, and Actions on Google. So they asked me questions, like the interviewer asked questions regarding how well I am them with that technologies. And apart from that, they also ask questions regarding have you hosted any like workshop, or how good you are in communication, or have you led somewhere. It's not that you have to only lead a workshop before becoming an ambassador. You can also portray some leadership qualities. Let's say you have built a project together in a hackathon, you could also portray that. So leadership, collaboration, and technical know-how is the three main aspect
Makes
of
sense. That
selecting.
that's that's some really key points that people can actually work on. So there's
Mhm.
another question from the students. This is regarding open source. While starting with open source contributions, it's very common that people don't understand large code bases. I can vouch for this. Sometimes even unable to resolve a good first issue. How do we get better from this? That's such a great question.
Right. Yeah, this was the same question that came into my mind while I applied for RGSOC. So right now RGSOC is no more in place. It got cancelled during the COVID time. But I remember during RGSOC, uh, I was finding different projects, which one to apply, and I wasn't able to understand the code base. But when I talked with the mentors, it said instead of understanding the whole code base in one go, just find some open source, like good first issues. There are some easy issues which have like labels on the GitHub. Try solving that, and if you are still not able to find out, do reach out to the mentors. Like each and every organization, each and every program has either it has like IRC chat, or they have their own like there's a Gitter platform where they host all this. So reach out to the mentors, talk openly, like, hey, I'm feeling stuck. Either the mentor or maybe someone who is also participating might help you. So and yeah, so they might help you. And instead of just asking questions, also do some Google search. If you are still not able to resolve that good first issue, do try reaching out, like where you are stuck, and ask more questions.
Great. I think that's a key part of open source, right? The community. So that's really key that you reach out to those people. They're really supportive, and you can definitely figure it out. It's no rocket science. Open source is really cool.
Yeah.
Uh, I'll move on to the next question. Can you share the benefits you had from attending GHCI, since it's one of the most famous scholarships among students?
Okay, so there are numerous benefits of attending GHCI. First, I would say uh, you get a team of fellow folks who are into the same mission uh, of celebrating women in technology and getting the scholarship. So you form some sort of like friendship from there. I remember Sasrika was there and the GHCI scholarship. We also talked more about from there. And to change your whole journey in a different way, like honestly, like I'm from a tier 3 college, like that's IP University. I didn't got any opportunities, but through GHCI I got direct opportunity to apply for companies like Microsoft, Adobe, Intuit. I gave their exams, and numerous startups also was there, like Micron. I got selected in Micron through GHCI only. Like there was an interview round. So GHCI provides like numerous aspects. Though it was online this time, but still it was worth it.
That's really cool. That's such a great experience to hear about. And I'm sure several of the students can actually take that away from here,
Yeah.
because college seems to be a barrier. You really don't need to think that way, right? I mean, Even if it is, there are so many opportunities. Like I have heard so much about GHCI's career fair, so that sounds really
Hmm.
great. The
Yeah.
next question, the next question is, being an active community member, how do you really manage community work with academics along with your career development?
Okay. Uh, Honestly, it's not easy at the start, but you somehow find a way. Like where there's a will, there's a way. So I try to manage. Like attendance was not really an issue. Sometimes it got, but we tried of convincing the our teachers. Like teacher, I have won this hackathon. This had had many times. I've won this hackathon. Please give me some attendance. But later on, it was easy. So generally, all the meetups happened during Saturdays and Sundays, so I was able to manage my community work along with the academics. But like since everything is online, you have events every day, so do set up some boundaries. Like sometimes you get very attracted. Okay, there's a webinar, there's a boot camp. I can attend this on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. First, set out a career path. Okay, for 1 month, I will only focus towards working on web development, and I will attend some sessions related to it, because now since everything is online, you can still visit that online course that's there on the YouTube, that session. So don't get distracted by too much noise. There's a lot of challenges in the specifically in the online world. So I would say set up some time. Okay, 1 hour for community, 2 hours for coding, or maybe 1 hour for my college work. So set some timings on your Google Calendar. I feel this is the best way.
Great. So I think we have one final question, but if anyone else has any other questions, feel free to put it in the chat. We'll be taking that up. So the last one we had over here was, learning in public is something that's heard very recently these days. Your take on this? I absolutely have no idea what that is. So I'll pass it to you.
Yeah, sure. So, learning in public is the best thing, I would say. So, learning in public means whatever you are learning right now, share it. So, you are attending this workshop, share it on Twitter, and not just only the screenshot. Write 5 key elements that you understood from the workshop and how you will implement it. So learning is public, but whether you are doing some questions. So there's like 100 days of code. So that is called like learning in public. So people start with it. When you're learning in public, you get sort of accountability. Okay, day one I have posted on Twitter, day two I have posted on, day three or four I may feel like lazy. Okay, I won't code. But you see that on Twitter you are maintaining a streak. So that really motivates you. Okay, now I can't leave day three and four blank. And I see in especially in the time of like this pandemic, this has also accelerated. A lot of folks are sharing their journeys, like 100 days of code, and people have also started enrolling in programs. Okay, I've enrolled in XYZ program, and day one I learned this, day two I learned this, or maybe if they are participating in a webinar or a conference, they share their keynotes, or they have talked with some leadership. Some person in like a leadership role, they share their experiences. And even people are building their startups in public. They are sharing their learnings, they are sharing their rejections, they are sharing their failures, everything. So it makes you feel more accountable. And through this, like learning in public, a lot of folks have also got some offers directly from the recruiters. Like right now, you like whenever you apply for a job position, like almost like hundreds, 500, thousands of people apply to a job. But if you try to learn in public, you post on LinkedIn maybe bi-weekly, daily, or monthly. So you also get in limelight, and people might reach out to you. And through learning in public, like rest for like when I was very active in the community during my college time, directly some folks, I got an opportunity to in like get an interview at Twitter. So they directly pinged and they, "Oh, we see very you are very active in community, and we also saw the XYZ program." So I got that opportunity, but while in college, I didn't got any opportunity. So I would say learning in public is the best thing that you can do.
That's
Thank
cool.
you, Hari.
You really are. I mean, those are so many. I mean, I have the exact same question which was asked before. How do you manage it with your career development. I mean, I was in college, I've been part of communities, but the number of things that you just mentioned, to carry them all together, I think it's also important to prioritize and make sure what is important for you. For example, like you mentioned, this session is available on YouTube. So if you want to listen in on it later, you have that choice all the
Yeah.
time, right? So really great learnings and key takeaways from you. Anything else you want to add? I don't see any other questions in the chat, but if there is anything you want to share.
Yeah, I would say I would highly recommend you to apply for GHCI because not only you get an opportunity to get internships and placements directly from there, you also get an opportunity to get interviews. So there was like live on spot interviews on the portal as well, where you get 5 minutes. I did a pitch to one of the two jobs that I also got offer. That was Micron. So I told all about my journey, what I do. So they got very impressed, and they also looked at my resume, and then they called me for the test and the 3 4 rounds. So I would say, and apart from that, GHA also has a conference, like it's like a 3 day celebration where where we have expert led talks. So it really enhances your knowledge and you get an overall aspect, because right now we are only learning what's bookish language, but if we uh, hear the talks from this leadership panel, we understand what's really going out in the market. So don't only just code, also learn more. I would say explore things.
Great takeaways. I mean, I really loved your sessions. It was really great content, and we already have this available in YouTube. So feel free to go and take screenshots of the really amazing opportunities that Akanksha shared throughout the session. And thank you so much for joining us, and thanks to the students for asking their questions and getting it clarified. Yeah. That's it. That's it from us for today, and it was great hosting both of the sessions at your college. And do reach out to us or Akanksha. Her socials are also mentioned in this screen or in our YouTube video. So feel free to ask if you have any questions after the call as well. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I've also shared the links in the chat.
Wow, that's great. Thank you so much. Here, we'll be sharing it with the student community. Thanks for joining, Akanksha.
Yeah, it
All the
was great
best.
meeting you. Thank
Same
you.
here. Bye bye.